Like at the circus, I've seen them when I was a kid, but I never was like eyeball to eyeball with one.
You guys still had animals in the circus when you were a kid?
I'm not old. Yeah.
You just exposed yourself so bad.
No, hello, Miss Kijang.
Hi.
Shall we? Mm-hmm. All right, then.
Hi, this is Scout.
And William.
From Hyperventilating.
The podcast.
A show that follows life and change through the eyes of a father and a daughter. Join us as we find our way together.
That be us.
Yep. Okay.
Well, then. Actually, I'd just like to say before we begin, this is a very difficult time for us. We have much on our plate, and I would like to say that you are a huge help. And I really don't know how I would do all this without you. So thank you, because I know I've been a little bit grumpy at points in this latest adventure. And I deeply apologize, because you deserve the best.
You're welcome.
No, really. It's a pleasure to have you around to help with things. You're a huge help, and you're really good-spirited about all of this, because we got a lot going on right now. All right, there you go. Little personal aside.
Yeah.
So what are we up to today?
Well, our first topic of the day is how much can you learn about a person from a phone call? And I believe that you can learn quite a bit and basically nothing from a person on a phone call. But I think that you can learn more than you can't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like a phone call can be short and boring, or it can be long and insightful. But I think that it kind of all depends on how the person talks. If you can tell if they're messing up, or you can tell that they're I don't know. You can just tell by kind of vocal language. For sure. Tone of voice.
How they answer questions.
I
think it can be quite illustrative of a person's personality, a phone conversation. If you use the right questions, and I mean, you'll certainly find out you'll find out a lot about a person. Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's tricky without the eye contact, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell sometimes. I think it's a person who likes to make things up. A BSer.
Yeah.
It's their milieu, isn't it? Talking on the phone, because it's really hard sometimes to decipher whether or not somebody's telling you the truth.
Yeah, it is.
But I definitely think you can learn a lot.
Yeah, me too.
It makes, that makes me think of the FaceTime versus just a phone call thing. You know how we've been talking about that? How it's almost better sometimes to skip the FaceTime, especially with it's somebody you're familiar with, because I think it's so much easier to have a conversation. You can walk around the house.
You're also not worried about what you look like, or
definitely, or if you're making goofy faces, or they can't catch you, burn you on an eye roll or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I think of that for the business, like for the mentoring, right? Sometimes it's nicer to talk to somebody just without the computer, because there's a pressure on the computer to always be looking and to, like you say, how you look that day, or, if you look away, they might think you're not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think for people, it can be much more comfortable to just talk. Once you've established a relationship, I think there's huge advantages to talking on the phone as opposed to visually.
Yeah, but I can also understand why people like FaceTime better. Because
it's more intimate, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I prefer just a normal phone call.
I do. Once I know somebody, I'd much rather talk to them just on the phone.
It's the opposite for me. Once I know someone, I'd rather FaceTime them.
Really?
Once I feel comfortable with them, I don't really care. But for when I first meet them, voice call is just,
easier.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because it takes some of this, it's...
Well, it just takes some of the stress of, what do I look like today, or...
Yeah, which is less of a concern to me
Yeah.
at this point in my career. Mm-hmm. You get what you get.
Yeah.
They're all bad days.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just kidding. But I'm saying, I don't have that kind of internal pressure, ooh, how do I look today?
Yeah.
Because I've long given up on worrying about how I look today. So I can definitely see how that's something that would affect your perception of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the freedom that not having myself bolted to the computer gives me during the discussion.
Yeah.
I think it lends itself to pondering a little better about what's being said. Like you can have pauses in the conversation that I don't think are as awkward and weird. Like when you have the visual, you almost can't have a pause because then it's like, hey, where'd you go? What are you doing? You know? I think that being able to... I'm carrying the conversation here now while you do some putzing.
I just had to charge my computer.
Oh yeah, that's critical.
It was low on battery. I don't want it to shut off on me.
Good save.
Anyways, back to the conversation.
I think you can learn quite a bit, and like you said right at the start, and to a certain extent, nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, it's once you know somebody, I think that a phone call can be really an awesome way to communicate.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Now to our second topic of the day. We have what...
We blasted through that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
We have, what is an influencer? Like, what are they? I feel like they can be lots of different things. It can just be for promotion. They can be there because they want to make other people feel better about themselves. Maybe they're fashion influencers, maybe they're doing it to have fun. But I think overall, an influencer is, I don't really know.
Well, what do you who's an example of an influencer to you?
The Kardashians.
The Kardashians?
But I guess they're more like A-list celebrities. They're not really.
I mean, I think
they're not really.
Yeah, to me, they fall exactly into the category of influencer. They don't have any discernible skill set. Like their contribution is almost zero to furthering any understanding of anything. They don't really. I guess they're entertaining. So I guess an influencer has to be entertaining. That would be part of it, right? Somehow keep your attention, and they certainly do that. And I mean, I know they have their clothing lines and all that, but all those things are an offshoot of their original thing, which, as far as I can see, was just doing inappropriate things and getting them released online and then going from there.
Well, I think that an influencer originally was an influencer. An influencer. Someone that was trying to make an influence on other people.
Yeah.
Like influence other people.
Yeah, for sure.
But now I think that influencers there's a bunch of different kinds of influencers, you know? There's people that post inspirational videos. There's people that post fashion videos, makeup videos, sports videos. I mean, it's a wide variety, but I think originally an influencer was someone who got a following on a platform and...
Yeah, I mean, I'd say to me it's an entirely made up thing, right? Like it's only in the last however many years, and not very many, that term's even come into use as far as being a noun, like a descriptor of a type of person or a job. I mean, it's for sure somebody gets a big following, and then somebody decides to shoot them a few bucks to, push their products or their own products, and so they're influencing. I guess that's the thing. They're influencing your decision making, right?
Yeah.
I think that I don't necessarily think that I would be super proud of going around and saying my job title was influencer. It's just goofy. But I know they make huge bags.
There's people my age who are making thousands of dollars a month.
Sure. But doing what?
Exactly.
That's kind of what I'm saying, right? Like I know there's big bags to be made at it. Like you can make lots of cash, but I mean that seems to be the limits of the parade you can throw for it. Like they're not really. Like say somebody's a great artist, and then they get a big following, and then people want to give them money to promote their products. So okay. That now they're an influencer too, because to me an influencer seems like is just somebody who all of a sudden is being paid to get you to think or a certain way or do a certain thing or buy a certain product, right? Yeah. Because there's nobody's doing it, like they're not sitting around twiddling their thumbs and going, oh, today I think I'm going to get everybody to like the color green. Like they're not doing that. They're sitting around trying to sell a lifestyle or trying to sell something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be an influencer, but I respect influencers. I can respect what they do. For sure I can. I think that if it makes them happy and like they make a lot more money than an office job would sometimes, like.
Well, yeah, I know. Right?
So
if money, but okay, so if we keep coming back to that then, because it's really the only calling card of the job of influencer is if you make money. And so the vast majority of them are not making anything.
No.
Like the amount of time and effort they're putting into keeping their 20,000 followers or pushing their knockoff cornflakes is not, it probably doesn't work out to very good pay. The high-end ones, like the Kardashians, of course, they've built a multi-million-dollar empire.
Billion.
Anybody who does, I mean, like Billie Eilish, she's not an influencer because she's an artist. Well, but she is an influencer because in the sense that it's just she does it on such a high level. She has so much influence that she's not an influencer. She's an artist, but she sells things. I'm sure she has products that she represents. Or
she does. She
her own line
has
of
3
clothing.
perfumes.
Yeah.
Well, 2, but.
So that's the difference between her and somebody that you call an influencer. To me, is that the one person that you're calling an influencer is sort of just scraping along, trying to make a living in sales, and then the other one is an artist who, as a side gig, can rake in cash by just saying she likes something.
Yeah.
Same person, really. Just one actually is doing something that's real. That's what makes me kind of laugh about it, right? Because a lot of them are like, well,
half the time,
what does that mean? What are you doing?
Well, half the time, the product that the influencers are pushing, they don't really care for or they don't really like. They're just doing it because they know that they're going to make blank amount of money off of it.
For sure.
Which can't really blame them. I'd say I like a product for...
it's sales. To me, they're in sales. Like they're straight up 100%. When I hear somebody's, I'm an influencer, I'm like, well, you're in sales. That's what you are. Like you're just trying to leverage the platform that you've created and the people that you have nominally following you into money by being a middleman. But they're just in sales.
For sure.
They're similar to lobbyists, that go like to Washington, D.C. Lobbyists are people who go and their job is to try and get legislators, like lawmakers, to decide in their client's favor. So they'll represent, corn, or they'll represent beef, or they'll represent cars, or and their job is to try and get people to. They're influencers. That's what they're doing. The same thing. You're just trying to get people to do something you want them to do.
Or better yet, influencers or lobbyists.
I mean, it's not. I'm stretching the comparison. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's just people trying to get people to do stuff.
For sure. Okay, well.
So what are we saying then? What are you saying? What's an influencer really?
An influencer is someone that is trying to push an object or a thing or a product. A salesperson, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Now for our first segment of the day, we have On the Spot, and I will be putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Okay, so I want you to tell me about the time.
Uh-oh.
You were in
about the time one, eh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where you were in your truck, and the buffaloes came up and started
shaking the truck.
Mm-hmm. What I've written down here is the story of when you got rattled by the buffalo.
All right. Yeah, so they definitely rattled us. Mm-hmm. It was a job. We had to go on a job, and we had to go into a big field, a big fenced-in farmer's field. Well, I mean, it wasn't a farm; it was a grazing field because it was full of buffalo. And we would always get a package in the truck. I would get a package, and I'd have to go through the package, and the package would tell me the parameters of the job, right?
Yeah.
You got to do this. They need to do that. Careful with this. Watch out for the owner's crazed. Whatever you needed to know. And this particular package had a thing that said, I remember, never forget it, this sheet of paper, and it said, "There's buffalo in the field, so be careful. and I've said I'll never forget, but I can't remember the exact wording. But essentially, it was like, unless you can run, the 100 in 10 seconds, don't try and outrun the buffalo, because they can. Something like that, right? So it made it clear that, these dudes, they're not to be messed with either.
Yeah.
So, who's the guy I was with? Actually, I can't remember his name. So we went into the field anyhow. And it was the kind of job where we're kind of cowboys anyhow, right? Mm-hmm. As far as the sense cowboy, in the sense of like, we like doing weird things. So we were all like, all that was just like red meat to us. Like, sweet, there's going to be something going on. It's not going to be the usual boring job.
Yeah.
So we got in there, and there was buffalo everywhere, and they're huge.
Yeah.
Like, until you see one in real life.
6 feet, no?
And not in a zoo. Oh, easy, probably, from floor to the top of their head. Yeah, more. And long. Mm-hmm. Like, they're insanely big. And they weigh, like,
wide
as
too.
much as a truck. Wide, everything. And giant heads and no necks. And they just, they move super slow. And they look really dumb. Like, they don't look like they could win any spelling contest. So we had to set up. We had this theodolite we're surveying, so we had to set this instrument up, expensive instrument, right? And we're for sure like, are we going to get like, what did that mean? That whole beware thing, right? So neither of us had ever worked. Kelly, that was his name. Neither of us had ever worked this close with them, like right in the field with them. And they were curious. And they start over towards us, just lumbering over, and they're getting closer and closer, and both of us are like, no, this is nonsense. So we had bear bangers, and bear bangers are a thing you just take out in the bush, and it's essentially a shell. It's not a bullet. It's just a shell that you shoot off, and it shoots out, and then it explodes over the bear's head, or in the theory, to scare them. Exactly, to scare it away, right?
And it works on buffalo too? No,
we were just more curious, like what would happen,
God.
Right? Because they were still far enough away, and we're like, well, maybe I'll keep them away. So there was this one big dude, and he was kind of off by himself from the rest. So I thought, all right, let's see what happens.
Big dude?
They're all big, but this guy seemed particularly big. But he was by himself. So I shot the bear banger, and it went off over his head. Like, it's not in danger or anything. I'm not trying to hurt anything. And it went over, and it makes a pretty loud bang, right? And a bear will kind of and take off, or it'll startle anybody else. Buffalo didn't even blink. It was like it didn't happen.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so we both looked at each other like, oh man, that's not good. He didn't care at all. So then they started moving towards us, and we were outside with the instrument and everything. And the thing's really expensive, right? It's expensive gear. And we're like, no, I'm getting in the truck, man. So we pack up our stuff and we jump in the truck, right? And we're just going to sit them out and hope they get bored and go away. So they come up, I don't know, there was like 4 or 5 of them at this point, and they all come up to the truck, and they're just curious. And I'm sitting in the truck, and my truck was like a big truck, right? 2 big quads on the back, special suspension, like really a big 1-ton truck. So it's way off the ground. Like, to get in, you had to kind of haul yourself up. So it was tall. And I'm sitting in the seat, and the buffalo comes up, and his head is kind of a bit above where my head is in the seat. And he's just staring at me with this giant eyeball. I swear it was like the size of your microphone. Like, just this huge eyeball, and he's just staring at me. No bad vibe. Like, because really they seemed like, again, super dumb. And he was just staring. And then he starts rubbing up against the truck, like just scratching himself probably. And all of a sudden this truck starts going like this, side to side. And then he really leans on it, and the truck moves a bit.
Oh my God.
And at this point, we were like, okay, this is no good at all. But eventually they just got bored and took off.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was a very, I'm trying to think if there was any other instance. Like, I don't think so. I don't think I ever had an animal encounter like in real life out in the wild, so to speak. It was on a fenced huge property, but it was wild enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had
and the buffaloes.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah, maybe not for them, but at least they were safe, I guess.
Yeah. Except for when you guys shot a bear cap over their head. Well, I know it didn't endanger them, but
no, they wouldn't hurt them. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I don't think I ever had an experience that was more that made me more powerfully aware of how freaking puny we humans are. Like, out of our element, we're seriously way down on the food chain.
Yeah.
When we have our weapons and our ingenuity and we can go to town with our various schemes and,
Yeah, but...
then we're fine. But if it's just you sitting there wearing your clothes and you're in a field and there's a bunch of buffalo, no, man.
No.
You're 6 of you is one of them kind of thing. So that really made me realize, like, damn, these things are, like, really made me realize, like, man, we are not at the top of the food chain in all circumstances. So there you go.
Alrighty.
Well, I have another buffalo story one day.
Okay, I'll save that. Yeah. I'll keep it in my back pocket.
They're crazy, amazing animals, Irish. Like...
I looked up a photo.
Oh, so big.
Yeah, they are quite big.
So big. It's the biggest thing I've ever been beside in real life. Like in real life, because I don't think I've ever been beside an elephant. Like at the circus, I've seen them when I was a kid, but I never was like eyeball to eyeball with one.
You guys still had animals in the circus when you were a kid?
I'm not old. Yeah.
You just exposed yourself so bad.
No, there's the circuses with animals didn't end everywhere like 10 years ago. Sorry.
So there you have it, guys. 10 years ago, my dad was a kid at the circus.
No, yeah.
That would be awkward.
It would be, and it seems like another subject for homeschooling has arisen.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, our next segment.
They did though have animals at the circus.
That's crazy.
I know.
Our next segment.
It didn't end that long ago.
I know.
You know what? We have to look that up. That's a really good topic.
Okay.
Write that one down. That's a good topic one day. It is good that that's done.
Okay. So our next segment our last segment is the sound that, hear me out.
Okay.
Is the sound that helicopters make. Like, if they're far away and I hear it, it's so satisfying to me. Like yeah, okay.
That's not bad.
You know Gloria?
You try.
You know Gloria in Modern Family?
No, I can't.
When she does the helicopter sound?
No,
it's
I don't
so
remember.
funny. We can look it up and show you. It's really funny.
Such a good show.
Yeah, go watch that. No.
Nope. All right.
I just find it so satisfying. If they're close up and I hear it, it just like makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
But if it's far away, like in the sky, and I hear it, it's very satisfying. I couldn't listen to it on a loop. I'd go insane. But to hear it for, 5 seconds, I think it's very, very satisfying.
Very ASMR for you, is it?
Yeah, for those 10 seconds, though. Any more than that, then...
It is an interesting sound. It's definitely a different sound.
Yeah.
Those rotors they're whipping like this too, eh?
Yeah.
As they go around, they're also going up and down. I think that's what generates that.
They hover, so... Yeah, I can only imagine.
Just weird.
I don't think I could ever go in a helicopter. It was always Madish's dream when he was little.
Yeah.
He wanted to go in one of those so bad. But I couldn't. The whole, I would feel so unsafe. The no doors and the...
There's doors. Ugh. There's doors
not
on lots
movies.
I know, but in real life, you're not sitting on the edge in real life dangling your feet outside.
Yeah, but every time there's
with a machine gun.
But every time there's a scene in a movie where someone is in a helicopter, and they're not strapped in, they have those big headphones and they're over the water, and it's usually in creature features like the megalodon, where you can see the body of the megalodon from up there, and just they're so close to the water, and just picturing how it could just whoop, and then swallow a whole. I hate that.
Well, and they always have,
and they're usually high up too,
They always have dudes hanging off of them,
Yeah.
and crawling around them. It's like, no way, man. In
Yeah,
real
like
life,
Tom
no
Cruise
way.
type things where
Oh.
they're like dangling off the legs
Not
of
a
them.
chance. I don't think a silverback gorilla could hang on for long with their big long fingers that
No.
are like a vice. There's not a
No.
chance.
No,
They are fun though. They're fun.
You've been
Irish.
on one? Oh yeah, you have. Oh yeah,
a few
You
times.
told the story.
Yeah, they're. But you know what? I don't love them. I think
No.
they're like
You
in my
have
mind.
vertigo, no?
No, not on that. In my mind, they're flying rocks. Like,
Yeah,
they're just
hovering rocks.
Yeah,
Forget
they're-
flying. Airplanes fly.
They're weird.
Helicopters hover.
They're weird, man. And when
Hover.
when you're in a field and they land, we always had to be taught, you had to know the span of the rotors. So if you had to cut out, if you needed an emergency, right? We had to be trained in case of an emergency. Here's how you make a clearing, and this is how much space you need so the helicopter can land. If if you have to get somebody out, and it's a big deal, right? Because if the rotors come down and they clip some trees or something, then it'd be a mess. Like there'd be deaths. It'd be really bad. Because when they come down, that's the part I don't like. Because they come down and the rotors are still moving, and it whips the air up around you, and it's just really frightening. Because they're blades. They're these huge blades that are sort of just above head
I've
level.
stood under one
going
before
around.
while it's going. I've done that, and that was enough for me to
Where did you
step
do
back.
that?
I don't remember, but
That's
in my
scary.
head, I remember so specifically being like 5 or
Really?
6,
While the blades were moving?
because it was taking off, and
But what were you doing under it?
I don't know. I mean, I just know that it was going.
Wow.
And I ran under it and then ran back out.
What? Mm-hmm. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Somebody was negligent. Like some
Pretty sure.
helicopter operator.
I don't think I was with
missed
you,
their
or
move
I don't
that
think I
time.
was with either of my parents.
Because you're supposed to, you're supposed to keep your distance, right? While the chopper lands, because those blades will
It was
obviously
taking off.
kill you. And then they usually stop. And then once the blades have stopped, that's when people get out. I know in the movies sometimes they're jumping out on the run and everything, but in real life, nobody's doing that. It's just not safe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
Depends on your height too. You
Love
could
the
probably go
sound.
under the blades.
love the sound and hate the idea.
Yeah, I can see that. There are kind of
I don't
fun,
like
though.
heights at all. I don't like heights, and the idea of being in
Mm-hmm.
such a small space, so high up.
Yeah. It is
put-
confined.
like, even
It's
in
really
a-
loud too. You got to wear the headphones, and that's
Uh-huh.
how you communicate. Because
Yeah,
you can't hear each other. Would you wouldn't like a hot air balloon then?
No.
That would freak you out too. See, that
I'd
would
go
freak
on
me
one
out
because
more.
I would go on a hot air balloon just because it just seems fun. But a helicopter just doesn't seem fun to me.
See, you know what's weird? You asked me about the vertical. In the helicopter, I've never felt. In a chopper, I've never felt vertical. But if I was to get in a hot air balloon and look over the edge of that balloon, oh my God, I'd be curled up in a ball in the bottom of the bucket. For
Really?
sure. Oh, for sure.
See,
That would
no.
freak my vertigo out.
Not me. I would.
It's looking over something that freaks it out. In the chopper, it doesn't bother me because I'm looking out the window and I can't look down really. I can look on an angle down at the ground, but I can't look straight down.
See, I want
Vertigo
to. I
for
want to
me
be
is
able to
straight
look
down.
straight down. For me, it's like when I can't see what's around me or under me. That's what freaks me out.
Okay.
'Cause
That's not
if I
vertigo
don't know-
then. That's something else.
If I don't know what my surroundings
I
are,
think.
because if I'm up on a high place and I look down, I know it'll freak me out, and I know it'll make me want to cry.
Yeah.
But I still do it because it somehow makes me feel safer than if I didn't look at all. So it's weird. It's a weird kind of, because I don't like heights, and if I stand up on a tall height, but I know I'm high up, but I don't know what's around me, that's scarier to me than if I was high up.
Okay.
And go watch the movie Fall.
No.
No, not you. I know you're not gonna watch it.
Well, no, I will, but I got to work up to it, man.
But if you guys don't have vertigo, go watch Fall. And if you do watch it and you do have vertigo, it will definitely scare you. definitely scare you. But I loved it. It was a really good movie.
No, it sounds like a great movie. I definitely want to watch it. But it does sound, it'd be right up my, yeah. It's one of the only things I have that I would say is a
Close
huge...
to a phobia.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know if it's a phobia though. I think it's natural.
No, it is. It's a phobia.
No, I don't think so, Irish. Because of phobia, look up what phobia is. I don't think it is. I think it's more of it's a fear. It's definitely a fear. But I don't think it's a phobia. You know what? When I was in
Acrophobia, also known as hysophobia, is an extreme or rational fear or phobia of heights.
Yeah, but that's not what I have. I have vertigo.
Oh.
It's not the same thing. I don't think vertigo is when I was in university in psychology, right? I remember this experiment they did with baby chicks, like newly hatched chicks, right? And they would put them on a table, and in the center of the table it'd be high off the ground, and the center of the table was glass, crystal clear glass, and the baby chicks would walk to the edge, and they wouldn't walk over the glass because they would look down and they would think like, okay, that's a fall to doom, right? And this is as a baby with no prior understandings of anything. Just inherently, they were like, okay, that's bad. And that's for me what it is. Like if I look over, if I'm standing on a balcony on an apartment, and I'm 20 floors up, and I look over the balcony, that is not any good at all. Like that's vertical. But if I'm climbing the side of a mountain, and it's on a slope, no problem. I can look down, doesn't bother me at all because it's on a slope. It's the straight down thing. Like a tree. I love climbing trees. When I was a kid, I'd climb as high as I could climb, right? It never bothered me at all because I don't know, it just didn't, because there was branches in the way, and if I slipped, I had a chance to grab something. If I'm on the mountain, even if it's steep, but if it's on a slope, if I slip, I got a chance to grab something, I'm fine. But when I look straight down from like a balcony in an apartment, I look down and all I think in my head is like, that's the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been on glass elevators and normal elevators, and normal elevators are creepier for me because I can feel like the feeling of going up is like just getting high, like I'm just going higher and higher, but I can't see how high I'm going. But in a glass elevator, I can tell like, hey, if I drop from here, I have no chance. But like if I don't know. It's
so the
weird,
glass elevator doesn't bother you as much. That's okay, and so that goes with what you were saying earlier. As long as you can get a perception of where you are, you're okay. As soon as you lose your perception of where you are, that's when you get disturbed. Yep. That's interesting. All right.
Okay, so the sound that helicopters make is what I hear me.
That got us off on a good detour.
Yep.
Well, Irish, I believe that brings us to the end of episode the 20th.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love you very much.
I love you too.
As always, I most greatly enjoy our discussions.
Me too.
All right, sweetie.
All right, I love you, Dad.
I love you.